Hey there, what do you say there? Beautiful day there. And today we're going to take another look inside of the book with wisdom for the ages. This is the Pranic pages. Much love. This is Jerome Shaw, host of the Open Palm podcast, motivator. Meditator, coming at you with another message from Maor as we explore more in this wonderful book. It's called A Year Without Food. So before we get into the mood, go ahead and check the other pages. If you have not yet seen the introduction or the beginning, you can go ahead and check that by going to the playlist, Pranic pages. So much love to you. And as we're proceeding through this informal reading, you hear the alarm. It'll do you no harm, but to just understand that the time is at hand. So much love as you are in the divine plan. And if you are listening to this, I appreciate you. Post-process life. Life just is not the same after a pranic initiation. You cannot ignore the changes that occur both internally and externally throughout the process. Your behavior is different. Your perspective is different. And perhaps even your character is different. Of course, you are who you always were, but it is easier to express yourself. In a nutshell, there is less ego and more soul. So, letting go of the ego system and getting back to the ecosystem, right? And even at a cellular level, you're changing. As at a cellular level, you're changing. I can split my life after the process in two: mental changes and sensory changes. I came to fully understand that living from light was no longer just a theory. I was walking the streets of Tel Aviv with boundless energy. I was amazed at the capacity of the human body. I was smiling, feeling high and on top of the world. Life was once again exciting and new after the process. Even simply seeing strangers on the street was different. I can relate. I suddenly had an urge to explain to them everything about what I had discovered. I wanted to explain to them that we are not just our physical bodies, that we are in fact so much more than that. I wanted to explain this newfound connection to spirit, that we are spiritual beings in search of a human experience, not the other way around. And that we can transcend almost anything. I could now clearly see how our physical body becomes a part of a very complicated, self-created illusion. Sadly, most people were not ready to hear these things from me. And I can definitely relate on that front where, to be blunt, many are not ready to hear the things that you hold dear when the energy draws near. And for that, it starts to be clear. Nonetheless, a remarkable feeling of self-discovery came with this sensation of achievement, and I was radiant. It all felt so good, so right. Over the next few months, I also rediscovered my body from another perspective. I soon learned that these months were critical. I was still shifting my consciousness after the process. My prana percentage was high, but in no way perfect. My body was still learning how to thrive on prana, and I was still losing weight. For my own sanity, I found myself re-examining my faith. What's going on, Ray? Are you a poet today? I love it. He a poet and he didn't know it. Post-process, I was also feeling many different sensations in my body. Right after the process, I was very weak, and I knew that it would take some time for me to get back into shape, but I wanted to begin immediately. Now, I am not an athlete, but I like to stay in shape by exercising on the beach a few times a week. I also like to take long walks, same, and play with poi. The first few times I exercised were the hardest. I found myself exhausted after only 15 minutes of activity. In addition, walking upstairs, either to my apartment or to my office, made me really feel my muscles working. My teeth became more sensitive to hot and cold drinks, and I became much more enthusiastic about sweet drinks. In fact, my whole taste experience changed, and it continues to change. I tend to fixate on one particular taste at a time for several weeks. In the beginning, I only wanted sweet drinks, mostly synthetic, tasty ones. I did not care too much about what went into my mouth, since I figured it didn't really matter anymore. I got whatever I needed from pranic nourishment. About 2.5 months after the beginning of the process, my body stopped losing weight, and I have since reached a new balance. Now, I just want to real quick touch on this point where he talks about I got whatever I needed from pranic nourishment, that it didn't matter anymore. And I recall during one of my pranic retreats, Elitom was telling us about this. He felt that the difference between what he called a Juicetarian and a Liquidarian was that a Juicetarian was saying, okay, I want juice from these oranges, right? Not those oranges right there, but those oranges over there. Those organic oranges, those oranges, I want that juice. While a Liquidarian is like, as long as it's liquid, we gonna get with it, right? It don't even matter. It's all chi at the end of the day. A Liquidarian has broken the concept and the consciousness of what minerals, right? What are these nutrients? What are these vitamins? What are these omega-3s and, B12s and all of this stuff? They've broken all that. And they're like, okay, this apple juice does not give me life. Neither does this banana. Neither do these grapes. This does not give me life. The source gives me life. So all of this that goes in this is just pleasure. It's just an experience. So it is a certain vibration when you have the inner communication and conversation to step away from the frustration of always needing something to be the most high quality, right? When you realize that you are the spirit that inhabits this vessel, you see things a little bit differently. and you no longer wrestle with all of that, you know, you start to let go of all the facts. And as a consequence, you sort of relax. It's a funny thing. I was happy to reach this point rather quickly in my comparison to my friends and the experiences I read about, which were documented in other pranic books. Less than 3 months is an amazing time in which we achieve this balance. It allowed me to overcome one of the biggest challenges in undergoing the process. Looking like a walking skeleton. I continued to gain weight over the course of another 2 to 3 weeks until I reached the weight that I am at now, which is about 2 kilos under what I used to be. Now I chuckled. I chuckled there about when he said looking like a walking skeleton, only because, you know, if you look back in some of my older videos, I got to that point, you know, where people were looking at me as something so frail, someone so gaunt, you know, and I had let go of all needs and all wants. But someone looking at me said, oh, something is wrong, right? He's doing something destructive. This won't last long. But they weren't able to see that I had reached an inner calm, that I had reached peace and found silence inside of the storm, you know, that pranic nourishment had become my new norm, and that it didn't necessarily matter to me my physical form, right? This is ultimately what I consider to be my ideal weight. And everybody has a different ideal weight since everybody is different. Soon enough, exercising became as easy as before the process, and I went back to my exact weight and exercise timings. I actually find that I have more energy and occasionally want to exercise twice a day. When a person eats regularly, they rarely think about a time when they will not eat or how much they would miss taste. Taste is such an amazing sense that we need to appreciate and give it the respect it deserves. Too many people eat without paying much attention, often focusing on the next bite before even finishing what they have in their mouths. That was me. Research shows that after about the third mouthful of food, we stop tasting. Autopilot kicks in, and most of us continue to chew until our plates are empty. This is so true. There were so many times that I myself, maybe even you, were eating and just watching the television, right? Watching TV or listening to something in the background, and you weren't really being sound with what you found on your plate. You didn't really give yourself time to really hone in and appreciate the taste, right? And the food that was in front of your face. There are so many sensations that seemingly go to waste when we find that we are more in a race and we don't appreciate our plate at a more leisurely pace, to be in a more mindful space. Too many people eat without paying attention. Being a breatharian has taught me to appreciate taste differently. Since one of my game rules at the time was to only take liquids, I allowed myself to bend the rules by taking in things that could melt in my mouth, like chocolate or ice cream. Now, this doesn't really work for me. I find it a little bit too tempting. I've had, some ice cream in the past and I went crazy, so that takes me on a whole nother, so I just rather not. But some people are more disciplined. Maybe that's you. In such instances, I closed my eyes and allowed my senses to take over. In the past, if I bought a drink and it was not very good, I would still drink it thinking that I spent good money on it and that it served a kind of purpose in providing me with liquid nutrition. Today, I would just throw it in the garbage. If it does not provide me with a good tasting experience, it is not worth anything to me. I also take my time and try not to drink too fast so that my taste experience can last longer. I use a straw and ensure that every sip counts. I also overheat my tea so it will take longer to drink. I choose what I drink carefully and only drink what I want and what tastes good to me. I use a wine glass to drink a shake because I want to give even the simplest of drinks its well-deserved honor and give myself a sensation of being a king. Now, this is quite interesting, because I was definitely raised in a certain way, and perhaps you might as well have been told or been sold the idea that if you did not have or consume whatever was in front of you, that it was automatically going to waste, right? What about those kids in Africa, right? What about those children that don't have anything? What about those people? You have to eat it all. Eat every morsel, eat every bite, lick the plate clean, What does that mean? When we're experiencing lack or scarcity in the way that we think that there is not enough. That idea, that philosophy can be tough, can be a little rough, because when you look around, you see all the greenery and the scenery. Nature only knows abundance. So why would you think that you yourself are not the same? Why would you feel that if you don't drink this or eat this now, that you are to blame? That you should be ashamed? Why play those games, right? Instead, if you say garbage in, garbage out, you can make the conscious choice not to put this in your mouth. For we can't control everything, right? But one thing we know is that the food that we have, we can control where it goes. We can put it in the garbage can, or we can put it inside. And wherever it resides, are you feeling alive? Does this give you the thrilling or the feeling that you can then thrive? And if not, are you really surprised? It seems that most breatharians tend to develop a sweet tooth. One of the reasons is that it does not really bother them when they eat something that is full of sugar, like ice cream or chocolate. They know they get fed from another source. The other reason is that the body makes everything taste so much better. So your inner child is calling out, "I want sugar." Water. My relationship with water has also completely changed. Even though I appreciate water a lot, it has no taste to me. Before my process, I used to drink the recommended 2 liters of water each day. I carried a bottle of mineral water everywhere. Today, I hardly drink any water. Why? I stopped believing in the 2-liter rule. I understand deeply that it was just part of the illusion. During the process, especially after the 4th day of dry fasting, I kept passing urine, even when I wasn't drinking anything, and the color of urine drastically changed from dark orange to lighter. Something in the mechanism of being a breatharian allows us not to need so much water to live. Now I will take water only if there is nothing else around for me to have. I will drink a little water to wash my mouth, or if I feel that it is warm outside and I want some refreshment. Since I no longer have any sensation of thirst, and since I did not choose to be a rare breatharian who has stopped drinking water, I still take care of my physical body. I sometimes check my boundaries to see how little water I can take. I once walked 3 days in the desert and only drank 1 liter of water a day, when it is recommended to drink between 4 to 5 liters a day under those circumstances. My urine was orange, but I felt great and did not have any difficulty or feel dehydrated. My relationship with water is yet to be concluded. I feel that someday in the future, I would like to take the challenge of stopping water for at least once a month to test myself, or 1 month to test myself. I would like to know if I can do it and what it would feel like. I used to think that food grounds me, but now I know that water also grounds a person. The sensation of being on air is slightly higher than being on a water fast. The sensations of cleanliness and connection to the divine are faster and stronger. So, with the water and liquid, you feel a sense of flow. Whereas just being completely dry and being completely high, you feel like you're starting to fly, right? You feel almost untethered as you gather together more nutrition that is all around. And for most, they might find a feeling of not being stable on the ground. But if you continue to grow light within you, there's much more that can be found. Relationships. Coming out of the process, I had a deeper connection with my feminine side. This made me feel complete in many ways, right? So, connecting the yin and the yang, right? Doing the dang thing, the feminine and the masculine. It's interesting with the yin and the yang. And all the goings on, how we can grow strong with the yin and the yang. The key to living in harmony with oneself is to embrace both sides in proportionate balance with your sexuality. Important to understand that within each of us, there are masculine and feminine energies. Ideally, the balance of these energies is like yin and yang. Here we go. A balanced man will have a dominant masculine essence while retaining intuitive feminine qualities, and vice versa for women. When these energies thrive in harmony, we become complete human beings. However, today's society does not exemplify many balanced role models. This has created much confusion and separation between the sexes, causing people to look externally to the opposite sex for completion. And I will even go as far as it contributes to the depletion of the secretion. When you think that you are not whole or in completion, and that you must have another half or counterpart from the very start. And that if you don't have a partner, you don't have value. How would you feel if that were the case? And if you were to have more love for yourself, how would you feel when you start to embrace? I was in a relationship when I entered the 21-day process, and during that time I had many moments in which to contemplate my relationship. On the one hand, I was in love and I missed my girlfriend a lot. I really wanted her, and I wanted to see her and let her know what I was going through. I had also started to plan so many cool and exciting things for us to do together after my return, and was looking forward to feeling her in my arms again. When I finished the process, I realized I had changed. Important aspects of our relationship were not working for the new Ray. It took just a few weeks to go our separate ways. Once I discovered my new self, this was a blessing, as I needed time alone in the world to understand the new me. Being alone provided a new balance in my feminine and masculine sides, and I became gentler and less motivated by ego. You know, the ways that we go when we're motivated by ego. It's interesting. The things that I used to do because I thought that I had to, versus the things that I now do because I'm actually glad to. My intentions became clearer, and I had less dependence on women to feel loved. Whew. It's a beautiful thing. Opening me up to sharing love with all creation. Thank you for that vibration. When I had just finished the process, my libido was also low. Yet, I felt complete and therefore wasn't looking for external happiness outside my own unity. Physical factors such as still feeling weak and having lower blood pressure contributed to not wanting to have sex or masturbate. 3 months later, my libido returned to normal. This was around the time when I also regained weight and my fitness levels started to improve. Interestingly, there was a big change in the type of woman I now became interested in. I became less concerned about external looks and started looking for a more spiritually aware person. I found that lying was difficult for me, and I had a natural desire to be my natural self, living my own truth, while respecting the whole package deal, boundaries, and free will of the person with whom I would become involved. I find that I can no longer think about meaningless sex or a superficial one-night stand. Come on, man. These days, for me, it is all about deep connection. I respect that reflection, you know? However, with these benefits, some challenges also arose. Talk about those. Imagine that you are going out with a guy who does not eat. There are no dinner and movie dates. You can go to the movies without eating. My cupboards are sometimes embarrassingly empty when guests come over. At least now they know not to expect anything from me. At least there's the expectation, right? Less complications and frustration, okay? There is much less socializing around food. which for many people is an important aspect of being in a relationship. It also means having to provide constant explanations and to endure over-concerned judgments and misunderstandings from friends and family who live differently. Now, this is a great point, because there's so much social and societal pressure when it comes to what we do when we're in a group setting. But one thing that we're forgetting, that it doesn't have to always be about, hey, let's get together and go out and grab something. Hey, want to go grab a bite? Hey, let's go get some coffee. Hey, let's go get some. Let's go get some. Let's go have some. Let's go grab some. Let's go bite some, You don't have to go bite something to invite something, You don't have to go eat something to greet something, to meet something, to complete something. There doesn't always have to be a meal to allow you to feel, to enjoy someone's essence, to enjoy someone's presence. That could actually be even more nourishing and flourishing. And pretty soon, as you become more in tune, it can allow you to have even more room. So next time you get together, maybe find how you might even feel better when you're taking a walk, when you're having a talk. It's interesting. That being said, do not give up hope too soon if you choose to go through this process. While at first you may find the new distance between yourself and others a little challenging as your personal frequency changes, more interesting and understanding people will come into your life. I can vouch for that. For instance, I recently had a relationship with a girl who was very supportive of my breatharian way of life. The bottom line is this: do you want to be in a relationship with someone who is inspired and supportive of your choices, or threatened and confronted by your commitment to pursuing your fullest potential? In this way, Breatharianism becomes a great filter for attracting partners who are open-minded, spiritually aware, and accepting of you as a whole package deal. After all, in order to have a truly satisfying relationship, we need partners who are willing to help us grow and genuinely wish us to succeed in all our endeavors. People and society. For the first few months after the process, you will continuously think about your new way of life. Most people only have an inkling to the extent to which food is embedded into our daily lives. You will find constant reminders and perhaps even temptations reminding you of your choice not to eat. Cities are centered around restaurants, diners, cafes, and supermarkets. Wherever you go, you see people eating, walking and eating, driving and eating, cooking and eating. Smells saturate your senses. That's definitely the consensus. People may also get curious and inquire about your extra skinny physical appearance. Depending on how you choose to react, you will often have to deal with misunderstandings, ridicule, and a general lack of belief. In the new Pranic living group initiation, this phase is very small, as the new breathing exercises help to restore weight balance much faster. Now, isn't that interesting? Gaining weight through breath. Feeling more life, less death. Socializing becomes a different game, and you may begin to perceive it from another perspective. You have changed, but the world as a whole has not. As you realize this, you discover new social boundaries with regard to how much of your lifestyle you share with others. Some people will be genuinely curious. Others will want to argue with you. This is why many breatharians choose to remain anonymous. Hey, I don't blame you, okay? I don't shame you. You may also encounter awkward situations where a generous host will offer you food, saying, "You've got to taste this pie. I made it myself." It is important to develop your own way of dealing with situations like these. Now, this is a good question. Because there's some countries and cultures that, turning down food is like a form of disrespect. To have the nerve to neglect what grandma made, right? Abuela, or what someone made over here, this man in that restaurant over there, or, specially made, just prepared by the chef. But if you understand how to feel at your best, and you understand what you would like to invest, would you do what you need and let go of the rest? Would you challenge yourself to be even less stressed? Or will you find yourself in a bit of a bind when it comes time and someone offers you a meal, freshly prepared? It's real, right? But how do you feel? That is the real question to ask. And we never want to feel we regret any actions in the past. But we understand that we have the power and we are up to the task. So one of the things that I do when people come up and they offer food, I just say, hey, when they offer food, instead of saying, I'm not in the mood, right? I might just say, hey, I'm fasting, And when you project that, they might respect that, Or you could say, hey, this is one thing I've said. I'm taking a break right now, right? Oh, no, just taste it. It's good. I promise. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you. No, I trust you. No, I believe you. I believe you. I know it's good. I'm sure. No, I'm sure it's tasty. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm just taking a break right now. I'm just fasting right now. No, I'm good. I'm okay. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I go out of my way to just let them know that I appreciate that. But I don't try to stress the fact that I'd rather not put it in my body. I can appreciate it on the outside. I don't have to feel it on the inside. And I try to get that point across as best as I can. Because some people may get on defense or start to take offense when you start to relent. But I try not to get into situations where I have to repent, right? Where the energy's spent, right? Some breatharians will say that they do not eat sugar or give some other excuse not to accept the offer. Others will occasionally eat a small portion to avoid giving an explanation or offending a host. Now, this is another technique. Just side tip. that usually people don't care, right? And usually a lot of people aren't really even aware. They just need to see that something is there, you know? As long as you have something in front of your face, they really don't even notice. There's been times where I've just twirled around things on my plate, you know? Because other people weren't even focused. Personally, I find that the best way is to say that I'm fasting. This is partially true, and fasting is becoming more accepted these days by the general population. I mean, come on, it's in every major religion, right? So people can understand that. That's really a go-to. Just tell them you're fasting. They'll understand. And if they don't, hey, you know, it's okay. Dealing with social rules and standards is usually your biggest challenge. You may feel left out of some situations and have to work a bit harder to break through this illusion. Some friends who know I am a breatharian still continue to offer me food out of politeness or habit. I've had that too, where I've had friends literally say, man, I feel so bad. You really can't have this? You know, I feel so bad about eating this in front of you. You really can't have this? And I tell them, you know, I can have anything I want. You know, it's a choice. Like I'm choosing not to. It's okay. You know, don't feel guilty. I feel like there's a guilt that some people feel if they eat something in front of you and you're not eating. You know, somehow that is defeating for people. Dealing with these social rules and standards is usually your biggest challenge. You may feel left out of some situations and have to work a bit harder to break through this illusion. Some friends who I know still offer me food out of habit. To many people, breatharianism is so rare and strange that it just does not make sense. Which means they don't know or forget how to interact with people who practice it. Some people also do not feel comfortable when they are eating next to me. Here we go. They ask me time after time if it is okay for them to eat something around me. Oh my gosh, I felt this. I find it funny and I take the time to reassure them I have no judgment on their choices. That's key. In fact, I love the challenge it brings me and the smell of food around me. So I appreciate it when people eat next to me. Now, that's another thing to point out. That actually, smells can be like a form of eating. There were times, and there's still times, that I feel like I'm eating through my nose, you know? Because I still have a certain amount of control on where that food goes. And I don't have to sacrifice my peace or my internal flow, right? It is only during the moments when everybody is eating and the conversation lulls that I feel a little left out, right? Those awkward silences. After about a year into my breatharian experience, I decided to go back to eating a meal once in a while. The first year was amazing, but I experienced social difficulties and I no longer needed to prove anything to myself. The shift was amazing and retuning to the taste of solid food was incredible. These days, I balance myself with 2 or 3 meals a week and some snacks if I feel like it, though I don't need them. There is no more self-judgment on the subject, and I feel that I can easily enjoy both worlds. So at this moment, I'm not at that point. I like and I enjoy the world that I'm in now, but I can definitely understand how, as we're discovering new talents, we have to find ways for ourselves to have balance, you know? And this comes in when we are able to say that no matter what we have or don't have, we are still okay, you know? So thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate you. And much love to you always. We're going to take a pause here, take a little breath. We'll come back next time and keep going as we keep growing with this knowledge that we are now knowing, with the seeds that we are planting and sowing, seeing where all the energy is flowing. Thank you for being on this journey with me, where we are all learning how we can be free. With the wisdom of the ages, from today's modern sages, this has been Jerome Shaw with the Pranic Pages.